Friends, welcome to this video. How was the Constitution of India framed? That is the topic which we are going to discuss today. And if you are preparing for various competitive examinations like Assam Public Service Commission or Union Public Service Commission, this particular topic will be useful. And for general knowledge also, we need to know about the Constitution of India, mainly how it was framed. Because you know India is a huge and diverse country, therefore framing the constitution of such a huge diverse country was certainly not an easy task. Therefore, in order to frame the constitution, one constituent assembly was framed first. Okay, constitution assembly was first framed, which would later frame the constitution of our country. So when was it formed? The Constituent Assembly, please remember the date. It was formed on December 9, 1946, even before the independence of our country. And on the same day, on December 9, 1946, the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly was held. And the assembly was disbanded on January 25, 1950. Remember the dates, January 25, 1950. After the constitution was adopted on November 26, 1949. So try to understand the timeline. The Constituent Assembly was formed on December 9, 1946 and disbanded on January 25 after it has been adopted on November 26, 1949. So basically how much time did it take to frame the constitution? So 1946, 1949, December, November. So it took almost 2 years, 11 months and 17 days. Okay. This is the time which was required to frame the constitution, and the constitution came into force on January 26, 1950. Okay. And that is why we celebrate the same day as the Republic Day of our country. So on January 26, the constitution came into force and the assembly was disbanded the day before. That means on January 25. So this was the overview of the Constituent Assembly. So now a little more about the Constituent Assembly. So the members of the Constituent Assembly were elected by the provincial assemblies chosen by the people of India. Though envisioned for an undivided India, the assembly functioned for the independent dominion of India after partition. Okay, so here is one interesting thing. So the Constituent Assembly was formed for undivided India. That means for the whole country. Okay, because back then there was no separate country like Pakistan. Okay, only on 1947, 15 August, the division was done. But as we have learned that the Constituent Assembly was formed in the year 1946, and the main idea was Constituent Assembly will be for an undivided India. Okay, mainly after partition, since there was no separate country called Pakistan, so the Constituent Assembly was mainly for the country of India, the dominion of India, and it was not for a divided country. And we know that on 15th August 1947, the country was divided and there was Pakistan. So the Constituent Assembly was mainly for India. And Dr. Sachidananda Sinha, remember his name, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha was the first president of the Constituent Assembly, followed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad later became the first president of our country. Okay, so this is the picture of the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly. Okay, we can see here Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, here Dr. Ambedkar is there, and other members of the Constituent Assembly we can see. Okay, now there was a drafting committee, and the committee would later draft the constitution itself. And a subcommittee means the Constituent Assembly was the main committee and the drafting committee was subcommittee, which was formed in August 1947, just after the independence of our country. And Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was chosen as the chairman of this drafting committee. And the key members of the committee were K.M. Munshi, remember their names, Muhammad Sadullah, Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, and Gopala Swami Iyengar, Devi Prasad Khaitan, and B.L. Mitter. Later, Harinder Kumar Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnamachari were also elected as second Vice President of the Constituent Assembly. Please remember their names. And the Constitution of India was mainly based on Government of India Act of 1935, and constitutions of some other country were also considered like US, UK, Germany, Ireland, etc. while framing the constitution, and reports from the committees set up by the assembly. Okay, so based on these things, the Constitution of India was drafted. Okay, you have to remember these points. So here we can see the drafting committee members. Here we can see Dr. Ambedkar and other members of the drafting committee. Okay, so the deliberation and adoption. The draft prepared by the committee was debated and amended by the assembly members for 2 years. Of course, the constitution is so big and for a huge and diverse country like India, so you have to debate, you have to make amendments of the constitution, and it took long time of more than 2 years. Okay, so there were 11 sessions in total, spread over 165 days. Okay, 11 sessions were held. Okay, remember this timeline of 165 days. And finally, the constitution was adopted on this date. We have already discussed this date of November 26, 1949. The constitution of the country was adopted and signed by 284 members. At the same time, it is important to note that the Muslim League, which demanded Pakistan, of course, they boycotted the Constituent Assembly because they knew that the Constituent Assembly will draft the Constitution of India only, not Pakistan. Okay, and they wanted separate constitution for Pakistan. That is a different case. And public participation was also encouraged but limited. People were invited to send their suggestions for improvement in the constitution. So this is all about how the constitution of our country was framed. We have discussed, so mainly the timelines and dates you have to remember, and the drafting committee headed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and the main points of about the drafting committee, who were the members. You have to remember the names of the members, and this is the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly. Okay, how the Constituent Assembly was formed, here you can go through once again. Members of the committee were elected by the provincial assemblies, who were elected by the people of India. Okay, and Dr. Sachidananda Sinha was the first president of the Constituent Assembly. And it took more than 2 years, 11 months and 17 days to frame the constitution. So friends, these were the most important things about the Constitution of India. I mean, when it is about the framing of the constitution, we have discussed the most important things. I hope you will find this video useful, and if you have liked the video, please like it, share it. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. In this channel we will upload more such interesting informative videos.